Good morning, students, and thank you for being prepared and ready for this presentation. Firstly, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Cubby Cubby peoples and the Ginny peoples of the Sunshine Coast, and pay my respects to elders past and present. In this presentation for legal studies, I'll be looking at the old courthouse located in our community at 4 First Avenue, Maroochydore. The old courthouse was formerly Maroochydore Magistrates Court. I'd firstly like to explore the historical significance of this building before playing a video of a solicitor's interpretation of the old courthouse. Established in 1964, this building additionally operated as a former police station, jail cells, and child protection services office. Now, in our legal studies for this unit, the key takeaway I want you to note down are the hierarchy of courts and the doctrine of precedence. In terms of the relevance to these legal principles, the old courthouse, as mentioned, used to function as the Maroochydore Magistrates Court. In terms of hierarchy, this court hears matters of less gravity compared to the superior courts in the District Court and Supreme Court of Queensland. Secondly, the doctrine of precedent is the rule that legal principle established by superior courts must be followed by that court and other courts. Therefore, these principles are both imperative for our judiciary system and guide our magistrates court in making decisions. Furthermore, I'll now play a video submission provided by a practicing solicitor in Queensland who will go into further depth on the operation of the old Maroochydore courthouse and its significance to our studies.
Hello, I'm a practicing solicitor in Queensland. I was approached by Harry to provide a brief overview of the historical operation of the old courthouse in Maroochydore, using my professional legal expertise. Harry asked me to discuss how this court once operated as part of Queensland's court system after it was established in 1964. Interestingly, this courthouse was formerly a joint police station and jail cell, which remanded offenders in the growing local Maroochydore area. The old courthouse functioned much like the current Magistrates Court in Maroochydore. Before this courthouse was decommissioned, the old courthouse heard a range of offences, from less serious offences such as traffic infringements to more serious offences such as burglary, assault, fraud and drugs. Much like our current Magistrates Court, this court would hear all these matters unless they are appealed to the higher district or Supreme Courts. Furthermore, the presiding judge in the old courthouse would have been able to determine whether a person charged was guilty or not, based on the facts brought to them, without the need to consult a jury. In the hierarchy of the courts, the old courthouse would have fit into our Queensland court system as the Magistrates Court for the Maroochydore area. Therefore, defendants of this court were judged on a case-by-case basis, and the presiding judge would have referred to previous cases and considered judgment laid down by the higher district or Supreme Court. This is an example of how the doctrine of precedence operated at the historical old courthouse in Maroochydore. I hope this discussion on the old courthouse in Maroochydore has highlighted the historical importance of this establishment and provides greater understanding for completing your university project.
So that provides us with a pretty good overview of the old Maroochydore courthouse. In completing this presentation, I was able to obtain some other information from the Heritage Library, which is quite interesting and something to think about when we pass the former Magistrates Court in our community. News publications and snippets provided from the library at the time identified that the community was greatly opposed to jointly operated police station, cell and courthouse. As I mentioned previously, this was formerly the Maroochydore Magistrates Courthouse. As shown on the slide, this court would have heard a range of less serious offences where the magistrate made decisions without a jury. Okay, so wrapping up this presentation class, we sort of will revisit those key points I mentioned earlier, being the court hierarchy in Queensland, where we have the magistrates, district and Supreme Courts, and each of these operate under the doctrine of precedence, which means that if any superior courts were to make a decision or provide judicial reasoning for this decision, then it's automatically binding on any lower courts, and that's definitely something that back in the old Maroochydore days they would also have to consider as the presiding magistrate there when they heard these less serious offences, or if an appeal were to be made to a more superior court. Now it's time we'll wrap things up here, but it's important to make this link in our community and recognise this court as a historical heritage building where this practice used to operate, and a magistrate would make rulings on their own. Alright, thanks very much for listening, and I hope we can get down these key points.